You ever get an eviction notice stapled to your front door with more swagger than legal standing? Yeah, that happened. Let me back up a sec. Tuesday morning, high up on this ridge, sun just barely warming the tops of the pines, me coming in from stacking firewood, boots muddy, feeling pretty good about life, when I see it, fluttering on my door like a warning flag. Notice of eviction. Immediate compliance required. Stamped with a gold acorn. Yeah, an acorn. Like I'm supposed to be impressed, and big bold HOA letters somebody tried and failed to emboss. I live past where the county road gives up and lets the gravel and weeds take over. My place is all timber, sanded and sealed by these two hands. Porch creaks like a pirate ship, wood stove that thunks when you feed it. Bought it outright last year. Title's clean, taxes paid, deeds in my name. No liens, no association ever recorded here. Hell, there isn't even an HOA up this way. There is one down the slope, place where deer become nuisance wildlife, and folks get fined if their mailbox isn't the exact right shade of beige. But their rules stop at the creek, and everybody knows the creek's not just a county line. It's a whole attitude shift. But somebody crossed that line, hauled themselves up my rock steps and tacked that notice to my door like Martin Luther at the cathedral. Only, with worse penmanship. Signed at the bottom? Marbeth, HOA president, a name I'd only heard in low, irritated whispers. I peeled the paper off, scanning the small print. Claims about my unsightly materials, chainsaw too loud, bird feeder, attracting hazardous wildlife. And, if I wanted to avoid eviction, I was supposed to show up for a hearing that had already happened yesterday. The arrogance, I swear, you gotta almost admire it. I was half-crafting a polite get lost in my head when Marmot, my big barrel-bellied shepherd, barked, a warning more useful than any alarm system. That's when I saw them, a procession coming up my drive. Leading the pack, a golf cart flashing an orange light like it's the Pope Mobile. Behind, a tall guy in a reflective vest, clipboard lady, and Kellen, my neighbor from 2 plots down. The guy who's always hinting about secret government work but never says what. The car parks. Marbeth herself steps out, hair and smile both too perfect for mountain air, blue blazer that looks allergic to dust. Good morning, she calls, like we're old pals. Says we spoke yesterday. Clipboard flashes all teeth, no eyes, and pipes up. 3 postings, timely notice, all proper, blah blah. I hold up the notice with 2 fingers, misdelivered by several property lines. I say. Marbeth's smile stretches, cat-like. I'm afraid not. We have jurisdiction over this parcel. The map was updated last quarter. Kellen folds his arms, grins at my porch like he owns it. Told them you'd be difficult. Updated by who? I ask. The Homeowners Association, she says, and I laugh. Out loud. Because, honestly, this is fantasy land. You're inattention to aesthetic standards, she starts, but I cut her off. Not a member, never have been. This parcel predates your development by decades. The creek is the boundary, always has been. Clipboard pipes up, we can foreclose for unpaid assessments. You can't foreclose on someone who doesn't owe you. I say. Marbeth glances at reflective vest, who solemnly nods like he's at a funeral. Your attendance at the emergency hearing was required. Only emergency here is the one you brought up my driveway. I say, maybe a little sharper than intended. Then comes the escalation. Clipboard whips out her phone, threatens to have the county confirm. Kellen grins, already dialing 911, narrates the escalating situation, describes me as potentially aggressive, throws in a note about my large animal. And that's how you end up with a sheriff's cruiser pulling into your driveway. Deputy Lugo, calm as always, with a handshake like a canoe paddle. He listens to both sides. Marbeth talking like she's running for HOA governor, me waving my deed and plat, creek line clear as day. He reads everything, slow and careful, then looks up and says, "This house is not in your HOA. Folks, you need to leave. Posting here again is trespass." And just like that, their bravado dries up faster than a puddle in August. They retreat down the hill, golf cart blinking, Kellen sulking, clipboard snapping papers, Marbeth climbing into her cart like she's boarding the Titanic. Deputy Lugo stays behind, hands me back my folder, tells me to document everything, and if they come back, call him. I stand on my porch in the silence, listen to the creak, pin the eviction notice to my corkboard, a little trophy. But here's the thing about people like that. They never take no the first time. I check my trail cams, turn one toward the drive, another into the ferns, because I know trouble sometimes flanks you. Send an email to my title insurance, start a paper trail. Days pass, quiet and blue-skied, until the next round. A certified letter, perfumed envelope, HOA dues overdue, late fees stacking, threats of a lien if unpaid. Pages of bylaws, welcome pamphlet, absurdity dripping from every paragraph. I drive down to the county office, because some things you gotta handle face-to-face. The clerk checks, no lien, title's clean. She suggests I file a notice of non-association, just in case. I do. When I get home, another notice waits, this time tucked under a rock. Certified threats escalate, the tone desperate, like a telemarketer at 4:59 p.m. I call Deputy Lugo again. He's got suggestions. Certified letter instructing them to cease and desist, file harassment if they persist. Maybe see a lawyer about slander of title. Enter Hollis, local attorney, works out of a log cabin, sells fishing licenses on the side, whistles when he reads something especially stupid. They're betting you'll fold, he says. Most people do. We draft a letter. Either admit I'm not a member or cough up every record, minute, contract for the last 2 years. Malicious compliance. If they want to call me an owner, fine. Let's see all the records. The HOA responds with escalation. A compliance officer shows up in a white SUV, hops my chain, starts photographing my porch, boots, wind chimes. I tell him to leave. He ignores me. Marmot does his bear impersonation. Ears up, chest out, no bark needed. Guy heads around back. My trail cam catches him clear as day. I call the sheriff. Lugo arrives, issues a trespass citation, snaps photos of every page in the compliance officer's binder. You can almost feel the mountain exhale when they're gone. A couple days later, HOA fires off an email. No greeting, just says they're recording a lien. Eviction to follow, CC's legal, which sounds more like a threat than anything. Hollis and I file in court, declaratory relief, slander of title, injunction. Judge signs a temporary order. No filing, no entry. Process server delivers it to HOA HQ, a condo with a wreath that says, "Bless this mess." And to Marbutha's door, her blazer as crisp as ever. Then things get weird. Next morning, 2 items on my porch, a letter calling me a threat to community harmony, and a muffin tin full of kibble. No idea who left it, but Marmot's suspicious. The neighborhood splits. Old Mr. Ivers brings apples and a story about beating the county at their own game. Jamie sends a new doorbell cam. Kellen blocks the mail carrier with his truck, gets a quick lesson in federal authority from a 5-foot-tall woman with zero patience. Meanwhile, Marbuth starts walking past the creek every day, stares at my signs like she's trying to laser them off. Court hearing arrives. Judge asks their lawyer for any recorded annexation. Lawyer stammers. "We have a map," he says. "A map you drew?" The judge deadpants. No annexation, no consent, no county stamp. Judge extends the order, tells HOA to back off. That night, things cross a line. Notice taped to my window, photo taken through the glass. Me at the sink, Marmot's reflection behind me. Now it's not just annoying, it's chilling. I call Lugo. He comes, takes my statement, grabs the trail cam footage of a figure outside at 10:42 p.m. He uses words like stalking, criminal harassment. I up my security, motion lights, more cameras, shades pulled tight. Next morning, call from the county assessor. HOA tried to change my parcel's tax status, claim it as common area support. Assessor's not fooled, flags it as misrepresentation. Another flyer appears, emergency HOA meeting, hostile actor at northern boundary. Somebody scrawled, "You don't belong here." That's a message, loud and clear. So with Hollis, I file for a civil harassment restraining order against Marbuth and Kellen. Police report for the late-night peeping. Letters to my neighbors. Fresh signs, private property, video recording, trespassers prosecuted. I request all HOA records. If they say I'm a member, prove it. Their response. Old budget sheets, shady landscaping contracts, surveillance plans, awarded to outfits with Marbutha's maiden name. Drone shows up, buzzing my windows. Marmot woofs. Drone crashes into a pine. Lugo comes, bags it for evidence. Owner tries to claim it, but has to explain the flight path. Commercial inspection, supposedly. Deputies pull the logs. Turns out, they've been spying on neighbors too. Meanwhile, Kellen posts a proud shot online with the drone controller. Sheriff bills him and the HOA for misusing emergency services. Judge holds another hearing. Demands any recorded annexation. There isn't one. Permanent injunction granted. No more HOA rules, fees, or entries on my land. 3-year restraining order for harassment. Slander of title damages to be set. In the parking lot, Marbeth says, you could have just joined. I tell her, I'm not for sale. Neither is my boundary. After that, the quiet folks wake up. Trenton, dad of the bike kid, brings board emails. Turns out, the whole map expansion was a cash grab. 30% sign for a recall, new board kills the drone. Posts a sign at the bridge marking the real boundary. Records a disclaimer with the county. Their insurer pays my legal fees, upgrades my security, and the drone operator gets fined. Kellen pleads to misuse of 911, takes a class, pays a fine. The mountain gets quiet again. Inspector fixes the culvert. I tell the short version to visitors. They tried to evict me. They called 911. Big mistake. I'm still the owner. The law held the line. First cold morning, I watch my breath drift like smoke. I think about how ownership isn't just a title. It's a promise to stand your ground. If another gold acorn comes knocking, I won't shout. I'll just pull out the folder. Because sometimes, the best way to end a farce is not to outshout it, but to outdocument it. Then make coffee in a house that's still and always mine. So, where do you stand on all this? Ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA or neighbor? Drop your story in the comments. Let's hear about your wins, your losses, your ideas of justice. Like, subscribe, and share this if you believe standing your ground is always worth it. See you next time, friends.